Okay, well, let's get the ball rolling here. Got an exciting guest on today. Let me launch this here. And yeah, got some, it's definitely fall here in the West. And you'll see me out in my famous new slippers, brand new slippers. She let me actually leave the house with them. And I have to get special permission to go outside in my slippers. She's laughing in the background here. And you can see we got this incredible maple that is turning here. This is called a lion's head, a very expensive Japanese maple. And it's just gorgeous right now with all of the things. You can see all the leaves on the ground here. We've had a lot of storms in Washington. In fact, we were without power this week. I actually did the Wednesday night webinar, overview webinar on a generator. So, you know, we always have challenges at home too, right? Just like you. And you can see the woods in the background here, beautiful location to work from. And, yep. That's pretty much what I look like today. Yeah, that's what I look like when I'm working. Of course, the big news in our region is we got this incredible soccer game. This is the front of Seattle PI. This is our local big newspaper here. Well, it's an online newspaper now, but it got a big following, and you can see what the big game is about here. Zango against Herbalife. Isn't that amazing? And this is for the MLS Cup. And a lot of you folks, of course, were at convention, you know, basically saw the Real Salt Lake squeak into the playoffs, and they've won, I think, 3 games since then to get all the way into the final game being held here in Quest Field. And so this is really lots of coverage for Zango. Isn't this amazing here? And, of course, Zango against Herbalife. Who do you think is going to win, guys? Huh? Okay. So anyway, let's get on to our guest. Oh, yeah, and you can watch it online, on TV, ESPN. It's at 8:30 Eastern time, so that'd be 5:30 Pacific time. This Sunday you can watch Zango play Herbalife. How do you like that for soccer championship? So that'd be good to watch. And so let's get into our guest. You know, Pat Petrini is somebody that certainly deserves an incredible amount of respect. And you know, he's done our training in the back office of my mangosteen. He's like a forerunner. What I see is Pat is always coming up with new ideas. He's on the edge. He loves to travel. And fortunately, I was able to attend the breakout that he did with Tommy Johnson. And I thought it was just brilliant that he'd taken something that we all sort of maybe know about and systemized it and categorized it so that he really helped us understand this, what we're going to call today the 4 appointments. So, Pat, are you on the line today?
I'm on. Can you hear me, Art?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear. How's it going today, Pat?
It's going great.
Well, you know, Pat, probably not everybody knows your story. I mean, yeah, you're a young guy, actually, and one of the exciting things for me when I got involved in Zango was to see all the diverse age groups. You know, we've got premiers in their 20s and premiers in their 70s or even 80s, and that this is a company that attracts all ages, Pat. And so, I mean, what is it about you that got you into Zango? What was your background? And then we'll get into the teaching today.
Sure, yeah. Well, and yeah, first off, of course, thanks for having me on the call. I'm excited to be on the call with everybody this morning. And, you know, for just real quick, kind of what got me into Zango, I was 22 at the time that I was introduced to it. And I was working with a direct sales company at the time, not a network marketing company, but more on the direct sales end of the spectrum, and had been doing that for a few years and enjoyed it. You know, was making a good income doing it, at least it was kind of a summer job that I did for the most part. And but what really attracted me about Zango was residual income. You know, lifestyle was really it. When I was introduced to this by Bob and Barbara Schmidt, and when they sat down with me and kind of laid it out for me, I was just so impressed with the level of professional freedom that they had, that they were able to work from home and have residual income and not have all the headaches that so many other business owners have. That is really what sold me on it. And, of course, I needed to believe in the product. I needed to know that the products were good and that the products worked and everything. But you know, I always tell people, like, if I were to make a list of characteristics to describe myself when I was 22, health conscious probably wouldn't have been on the list. And so it wasn't the product so much that grabbed me. It really was the money and the lifestyle. And of course, I've learned a lot since then. I'm a lot more health conscious now, but that's kind of what got my attention.
Well, and you were quite successful for a young guy in that other company too, right? So must have been a big decision.
Yeah, it was going great. I mean, in that other company, I could, if I was working full time, which, you know, if I was putting in 50, 60 hours a week, I could make 8 or 10 grand a month selling these kitchen cutlery products, and so that was an incredible summer job, and then I took a year off of school to kind of do it full time for a year. So I was really happy with that, and it was great training and everything, but there was no residual. I had to be out there every week, you know, making it happen.
Yeah.
Appointments, no residual whatsoever.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of good businesses like that, or good income opportunities. You know, I can think of real estate. You know that you can get some referrals, but you make a sale, and you might not get another one ever from that customer.
Yeah.
And so that's what residual income is about. It means that you do your work now, and you could virtually get paid for life. And so, let me just ask you this, you know, and I wasn't really planning, but I'm kind of curious myself. So how did you get introduced to Zango? What happened?
Well, I'm from Reno. I live in Reno, and what had happened is Bob and Barbara Schmidt had moved to the Reno area, and I had actually met them about a year prior, just on a vacation that I went on with some mutual friends, and we didn't talk business at that point. That was actually just at that point when I had met them was probably just a few months after they had gotten into Zango, and then they moved to Reno about a year later, and we got together just to kind of touch base and sit down for coffee. But Bob knew that I was having some success with this direct sales company, and so he kind of laid out the Zango story. And there's not a whole lot of options when you sit down with Bob Schmidt to hear about Zango. It's really going to go one way, you know. So that's what happened. And then I signed up in October of '04, and convention was a few weeks later. I went to convention, and then it was over at that point. I was excited. I dove in and just did it part-time, you know, at first, because my other company was still paying the bills. And so I did Zango part-time for about a year before my Zango business was covering the bills. And then after doing it for 2 years part-time is when it got into the six-figure range, and then that's when I went full-time with it.
Wow, fantastic job. I'd love to see it, Pat. And, you know, of course, for those of you on Exco Pro, you heard Pat's CD recently talking about at the beginning, especially all the traveling that he's doing. And here we got some pictures here, Pat, and I can see you're doing some work here next to the pool, and you're probably doing a three-way call on the beach here. What's going on?
Yeah, down at the bottom left there is in Grand Cayman Island when we were all out there for Elevation Retreat. That's Melody Johnson and Cindy Samuelson in the pool as well. I think Cindy's on her phone.
Yeah.
And so we're working there, and then the other picture on the right is down in Hawaii, and I love I love working from places that have a view. You know, I just am in a better mood and happier and everything. So I'm actually down in Hawaii right at the moment also. But so that's
is this Les Brown in the top left here?
Yep, yeah, Les Brown in the upper left. That was convention 2 years ago.
Uh-huh. This is not your girlfriend that we're learning about, is it?
Yeah, it is, yep. On the far right there, that's Emily. Yep, she's going full-time with Zango next month.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Things are getting kind of serious for Pat.
Yeah.
Some of you young gals, you'll have to cross Pat off your potential list here. Let's go through a couple of these other things here. Pretty cool, some of the places you've been, things you've done. Just walk us through these pictures. Here we got all these with the dolphins.
Sure, yeah. Well, my girlfriend is a dolphin trainer down here on the islands, and so
nice.
I had the opportunity to jump in with the animals that she trains a little bit. And then over on the right, that was we were celebrating her birthday, so we went up on a glider ride down here in Hawaii.
Nice.
Bottom left is there's a trail called the Nepali Coast Trail. Actually, that's not the real name of the trail, but I can't pronounce the real name of the trail. But it's on the north end of Kauai.
Kauai, yeah, I've taken part of that trail. It is an arduous climb.
Oh yeah. I mean, gorgeous trail. You know, so that's on part of that. And then that other picture is that's of course the Golden Gate in the background there.
Okay, well, these ones are cool here. We're doing some snorkeling or something. What's up with this picture?
Let's see. Hasn't come through. Oh wait, here we go. Oh yeah, upper left there. That's Tommy Johnson on the left.
Oh, that's Tommy.
Yeah, we were. That was just this last elevation retreat. We went cage diving with the sharks down here in Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know. Yeah, you can actually kind of right in between me and Tommy. You can see the nose of one of the sharks right behind us.
Oh yeah, right in here. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a really cool shot. How did you put this together?
That's just a fun angle, you know. But that was in Egypt, and just those statues are of course enormous, but
yeah,
just kind of had a fun angle that we got with the camera.
That's awesome, and doing some whitewater kayaking here looks like.
Yep.
Wow. And one more set here. What's happening here? This is gorgeous. That looks like Niagara. No, is that?
Oh, that is gosh, the name is escaping me right now. That's Iguazu Falls. That's actually right on the border of Argentina and Brazil, and that's actually not even the largest set of falls. That's one of the smaller set of falls, but it's this area that has just this incredible set of waterfalls. It's one of the largest in the world, and just an amazing area for sure.
You know what? It was so funny. Listen to your CD, Pat. It sounded like you were kind of went homeless for a while and just packed your stuff in storage and traveled.
I did, yeah. It's at the end of 2007. I was living in Tucson, and I was getting ready to move to Reno, move back to Reno, and I just figured, what the heck? I didn't have any real reason to be in any one spot. You can work this business from anywhere, so I figured I might as well just capitalize on it, and I just threw half my stuff away, threw the other half in storage, and I just lived out of a backpack for 2008, and I was in South America for a few months and Mexico for a little while, and then just all over the U.S., just traveling for 2008, and then I moved back into my place in Reno right at the December or January of 2009. So kind of went homeless for a year.
Well, listen to this, guys. If you're listening to this, what else could you do that has that much freedom?
Yeah.
That's such an amazing story, and your business went wherever you were, right?
You bet. Yeah. That's what I got into this for, was that kind of freedom to go wherever, whenever, and it wasn't like I was just taking that time off. I was working and supporting my group, but just doing it with my cell phone or using Skype occasionally, although we didn't really understand the power of Skype then like we do now. So, yeah, it's incredible, the freedom that you have with this business.
Well, that's awesome. I'd love to go through those, and it's really inspirational for people. I know that, there's nothing quite like Zango. So let's get into what I'm calling the 4 appointments. I got your notes, and you were actually calling them the 4 meetings, and I turned it into appointments. I don't know. Did you call them appointments or meetings at convention?
I think that you're right. I think that it's actually the 4 appointments. I think just on my notes I had meetings for some reason, but you're right on that.
So let's go through these 4 appointments and talk about them, Pat, and give us some background on what they are and what is involved in them, and give some real good in-depth on each of these appointments. So the first one you have on here is the intro. Whoops, and that's the intro, and that might include a third party. Just to go through that for us.
Absolutely, yeah. And first off, of course, I always like to mention that pretty much anything you ever hear from me is stolen from somebody else, and the odds are that it was stolen from Bob. And that's, of course, where this information comes from is directly from what Bob talks about on some of his training CDs. But what he would talk about is that there's 4 types of appointments that really matter, and really everything else is busy work. Yes, it's important to be listening to CDs. Of course, it's important to be listening to the XGO Pro CDs and the other training things, and to be on webinars like this, of course, are important to sharpen your saw, so to speak. But at the same time, there are some people that are on all the calls, all the webinars, listen to all the CDs, but they're not setting any appointments. And, you can listen as much as you want, but that's not going to build your business. these 4 appointments are the things that are going to build your business. So if you really want to take an evaluation of how healthy your organization is, then you open up your calendar and look at your calendar for this coming week and look at how many of these types of appointments you've got on your calendar for this coming week. And that's what really matters in terms of growing the business.
And not only that, I mean, how many did you have last week gives you an idea whether you've actually been doing real work or what you call busy work. Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. So this first type of appointment is the introductory appointment. And so that could be a number of different things. That could be where you're using, maybe you're giving a CD to somebody and asking them to listen to it. But doing it the right way, it's not just throwing CDs out there, because you've got to kind of set that follow-up appointment so that you're ensuring that they listen to it. But it could be a CD. It could be you're bringing somebody to a city meeting. It could be that you're bringing them to a home party, maybe a one-on-one coffee appointment, conference call, 3-way phone call. There's a number of different things that could be an introductory appointment. But the key with the introductory appointment is that it's always a third party of some sort. It's that the person that you're sharing the Zengo story with is getting the information from a source that's not you. And that has nothing to do with your own presentation skills. It just has to do with human nature. We listen to people that we don't know more than we listen to our closest friends. And like Jim Rohn says, don't try to figure out why that is. It's just the way it is. Just accept it and just work around that. So anything where you're kind of just making that first introduction and giving somebody a little bit of an overview is what we would call the intro appointment.
Yeah, and what are some of the keys to that? We're using a lot of extra sort of phrasing now in terms of under ordinary circumstances and trying to edify the third party in our upline. I know you do a lot of that, and you do a lot of 3-way calls as part of your introduction. Talk about that a little bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do a lot of 3-way phone calls, and I guess the first step of the intro appointment is actually setting it up. So you want to edify whoever that third party is going to be. If it's going to be a CD, you want to edify the person on that CD. Just a couple days ago, I was lending somebody a CD, Bob's, the first disc of Key to the Vault. And of course, when I gave it to him, I handed it to him. I said, "You're going to love this guy." And I was giving it to this guy because he's got a strong sales background. He's making good money selling copiers. He's familiar with sales training, and he really, values really good sales training. And I would put, Bob Schmidt's training up against any type of sales training that I've heard out there. And so I just wanted him to see kind of what sort of training we have available. So I told him, the guy on this CD spent 38 years of his life in this industry. He's a legend in the industry. He averaged a 7-figure income for all 38 of those years. And I think that when you listen to him, I think you could put him up against any sales training you've heard. It's great stuff, and this album is something we have for our distributors for $15. And so, you want to give a strong edification so that he is at least a little bit intrigued to listen to it.
Yeah, well, hold on a second here, Pat, because this is really powerful. For those of you listening, this is what we've been talking about a lot lately. I mean, Pat got into sort of the head of this person and asked himself what would be some information. Of all the third-party tools that we've got here, what would be the right fit for this guy? And he identified one particular tool and then presented it to him and did a heck of a job of building up to it. And so, you want to look at the person that you're talking to and try to figure out, what of all the things we've got would impact them.
Absolutely, yeah. In Swim with the Sharks, it says it's more important to know your prospect than it is to know your product, your company, your industry, or anything else. So yeah, you're really catering this introductory appointment to the person that you're sharing those with, trying to figure out, like you said, get in their head and figure out what's going to be. And it's just an educated guess. It's not. There's no science behind it. That's what recruiting is, an art, not a science. But it's taking your best guess, given all the resources we have available to us, what you think is going to grab their attention.
Yeah, great job on that. I've got something in your notes about what not to say. Emily's story. Before we get into the next one.
I'll just tell this real quickly. You know, there's a big difference between doing this the right way and doing this the wrong way, and I just tell people, if you just are try to be always upfront and honest with people about what it is that you're asking and what your expectations are. Don't try to sneak people into a Zango presentation. Don't try to hide what it is that you're asking. Don't try to skirt the issue. Be very upfront, honest, direct. But have what I tell people is have I love what Jim Rohn says. He says it's not important to me if you buy. It's not important to me if you join. It's just important to me that you listen. And if you can ingrain that mentality, I even use those exact words sometimes. But if you can ingrain that mentality, and you're just really upfront with people about what you're asking, but also letting them know there's no pressure, and people are going to respond positively. And so what I have here, Emily's story is just actually one of Emily's friends over on the Big Island. Her name is Karen. Karen was Emily just met Karen about a month and a half ago, and Karen is a dolphin trainer also over on the Big Island. Emily went over there to work for a few weeks and met Karen, and they kind of hit it off really well. And Karen, they were all sitting around during their lunch break at Dolphin Quest, and Karen comes in. She says, "You guys are never going to believe what happened to me yesterday. My friend, one of my best friends, she invites me out to coffee, and she just says she wants to get together for coffee. And then when I get there, she's got this guy there with her that starts pitching me on this pyramid scheme." And
right.
And Karen was totally put off by the whole thing and starts just bashing on network marketing and bashing on pyramid schemes and how you've got to be, careful about all these things that are out there. And I can't believe my friend tried to do that to me, and Emily's kind of keeping silent a little bit during this because she's kind of like a little bit embarrassed or, not sure how they would take it if Emily said, "Well, I'm in network marketing too." But then she did. She said, "Well, guys, I should tell you, I'm actually in network marketing also." And Karen just her jaw dropped because she'd been hanging out with Emily for a couple of weeks and had never even mentioned it, And but then Emily kind of, Karen started asking some questions. Well, what is it about? What's your company and how does it work? And Emily started explaining kind of the way we do things and what our products are. And Karen is in. She's already signed up a few people. I was just visiting her yesterday on the Big Island and did a handful of appointments for her. And she's fired up and ready to go. And the difference is being upfront, versus what her friend tried to do is ambush her. And you got to respect people, and be upfront with what it is that you're asking for, and people will respond well to that.
Okay, great story, and it's amazing, So she might have really thought this person is negative and isn't interested in the industry, and all she had to do is be approached the correct way on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So appointment number 2 is the follow-up. What does this look like, Pat?
So the follow-up is an ongoing process, but you set that appointment. Basically, follow-up is everything in between the intro and when they actually sign up would be follow-up, and that could be. You could have real active follow-up, like you gave them a CD and now you're following up a couple days later to see if they listen to it, and then you're setting up a phone call for them to talk to one of your upline, and then after that phone call, depending on how that call went, you're sending them some more tools or shooting an email with a couple of resources, and just kind of real active follow-up. But then also, maybe you're really actively following up with somebody, and you really feel like you did a good job of getting them all the information, the product, the business, everything, but for whatever reason, it's just not the right time for them. You just don't have their attention yet. And then in that case, they might go on to what Bob would call his drip list, where you're not calling them every few days, but maybe once a month or so, or once every other month, you're shooting them something. A great thing to shoot out to everybody that's on your drip list right now is hey, check out ESPN on 8:30 Eastern time. Check out Real Salt Lake. Just so they can see it. That adds a lot of credibility to the company. Shoot that press release out to everybody, or when any of the new exciting things that come out. If there's a great CD that comes out and it makes you think of somebody, then maybe just email them a CD, send them a CD and say, hey, I listened to this and I thought of you. And it's just kind of, you're just kind of every once in a while shooting them a note that just says that you're still thinking about them and you're still in it and you're still serious.
Yeah, one of the things that happened to me this week, Pat, is that I was talking to a brand new person, walking them through the steps, and as I was describing the steps that I walked them through, I realized that during our conversation that we had talked about the Zango goodness. Mm-hmm. And so that he brought up something to do with charities, and so I talked about the Zango goodness, and hadn't really thought. After I got off, I sent my sort of standard email with the different links, and hadn't really thought to highlight anything on Zango goodness. So then I just shot him another email that was just a direct link to a video on Zango goodness, and so that's another kind of follow-up based on what you know about this person.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, just like we talked about with the intro, you're always trying to cater it to who you're talking to, what you think is going to grab their attention. But it's always about the next step. What's the next step? What's the next step? And what I just encourage people to do is you should always be kind of working with your upline on what the next step is. So if you set up a three-way phone call and you introduce your candidate to your upline and you do a three-way phone call, then as soon as that call is over, the next thing you want to do is talk with that upline and ask them, based on how that call went, what should be my next step? And then do that, whatever that next step is, and then check back with your upline again and say, now what do you think I should do?
We can always think of a next step, and so it never really ends until they join, right?
Right, absolutely. It's not no, it's not now. Right, is what people mean when they say no. It just means it's not a good time right now, but that you never know when that's going to change. So follow-up is constant until they sign up.
Okay, so next number 3 here is the get start.
So the get start is once they're in mentally, and the reason I say once they're in mentally is because signing the page, signing the distributor application doesn't really mean anything. Some people are signed up as a distributor, but they're not really in it to build the business. And there's some people that are fired up, ready to go, but just haven't gone through the technicality of signing up yet. So what we're really looking forward are they in it mentally? And if they are, then we want to dive right into to getting started. And so there's a few just kind of logistical things that we want to take care of when we're getting somebody started. We want them to get on their upline email list. We want them to meet the upline team. We want them to get on Exco Pro. We want them to start out with some tools, get some good training tools in their hands, things like that, and some tools that they can start handing out to candidates. But the real important thing, and what Bob used to say, is your number one objective when you sign somebody up is to get somebody else underneath them within 30 days. Bob would say, he just would assume that somebody was going to quit. He would just assume in his head that if I don't put get somebody underneath them in 30 days, then they're going to disappear on me. And so he'd always have that mentality. So that's what you're trying to do, is trying to just, you want as quickly as possible to get their list of their best people that they can connect you with, and then you want to get connected with those people as soon as possible, and you're trying to get somebody underneath that brand new distributor within 30 days, and then you're going to do that same thing with that brand new distributor, that same thing with that brand new distributor, and you just drive that deep, and then you're constantly working with looking for what Bob called spotting sparkles, looking for people that have that high level of drive and energy and motivation, and working with them. But you just drive, and that's a whole other topic, of driving depth and working depth and everything. But again, that's our number one objective with any new person, is to get somebody underneath them as fast as possible.
Yeah, so you've got 30 days. And I think as you as a sponsor bringing in somebody brand new should have a high degree of urgency at working them through all of these steps, because if you don't get them into action within 30 days, and there'll be 30 days from, I guess, they're making the decision. We might have somebody ordering product for 90 days but haven't really made a decision. But once they make a business decision, then it's important that they get somebody that they have sponsored within the 30 days, or they're likely to just quit, right?
Right. Yeah, and what I'm not necessarily talking about is that you're putting somebody underneath them, but actually you're getting them to lead you to somebody within 30 days. That's an important distinction.
So you get their list together, and their best and brightest. One of the things, Pat, I've been learning recently, it's I can't believe how much I've learned over the last year about network marketing. I sort of wonder, how did I make it to 500K sometimes? Because I've been learning a lot, and one of the things that I recognized that was a mistake was not actually going through the steps of getting people to fill out the prospect profiles, kind of skipping that step a little bit, being sort of soft and not disciplined. And then I went through it properly with somebody on a plug-in call, what I call a plug-in, where you just introduced me to somebody, and I saw the power of the actual filling out of the prospect profile, because you actually start to almost set up the energy for the call, and you get to know the person, you're thinking about them, you're strategizing, and it's like laying down the groundwork, really. And so that when you do pick up that phone, you've kind of got the foundation laid, and you're not making what I would call an unconscious phone call to somebody that could be very important. And so the basics become critical, I think.
Yeah, you bet. And I was kind of resistant to the prospect profile sheets. I remember when I got started, because Bob was so insistent on us using them, and I just felt like it was just kind of, I just hate paperwork, and just was like resistant to doing it. But it's true, though, by having people go through that process, like of filling it out, like you said, they kind of it's kind of mentally brainstorming different ideas, and like you said, laying out kind of some groundwork on how to proceed with that person. And the other thing that I like is that sometimes people will fill out those prospect profile sheets, and they'll, just by filling out the sheet, and the sheet asks you, about different qualities that this person has, and kind of forces you to evaluate how good this person really is. And lots of times people will fill out those sheets and realize that maybe they're not really thinking of their best people, and maybe they need to go back and redo their list. And it almost kind of forces people to think of their highest quality people, which is really what we want everybody going for, recruiting.
Right. Yeah, so you get these prospect profiles, and then as part of this Get Start, do you talk about some of these people? Is this part of the Get Start, or would that be part of the next?
Well, that would actually kind of fall under the fourth type of appointment, which would be a coaching session.
Okay, number 4 is coaching.
Yeah, a coaching appointment, and so this would probably be your first coaching session that you would have with somebody, is where they've put together their list, they've filled out some prospect profile sheets now, and your first coaching appointment is going to be going over those lists and looking at who those people are, who's on the list, and strategizing what's going to be our strategy for each of these people. Are we going to start out with some CDs? Are we going to start out with bringing them to an event that's coming up? Are we going to start out with a three-way phone call? And if it's going to be a three-way phone call, who are we going to get on the phone with them? Who do we think is going to be a good match for that person to talk to? Maybe from a personality standpoint, or maybe similar professional backgrounds, or whatever. But you're trying to match people up with somebody that you think that they'll respond to best. And again, it's just trying to personalize it as best as we can for a higher rate of effectiveness. So that's kind of your first coaching session, typically, is going over that list. But then you just have ongoing coaching sessions where you're just, you're reaching out to your downline and working with them, kind of seeing where they're at. And those might be occurring multiple times throughout the week. You could, actually something like this webinar would be considered actually kind of a coaching session where sharpening the saw. We're training here. So going to Las Vegas, going to convention, those are very large coaching sessions, of course, but anything where you're touching base and strategizing and then going on, planning the next step, conference calls, all that kind of stuff would fall under coaching sessions.
Well, it's interesting, Pat. I thought when I was talking to you about this that I'd go back through my calendar for this last week, to just see how many appointments I have. And, of course, I like to use the online Outlook version of setting appointments because it really, then you plug it into the computer and it reminds you, that you've got a call today. So you never miss any calls anymore. In fact, it nags at you if you forget, right? And
right.
In my calendar for this week, it looks like, I've had about well over 30-some appointments. Now, these are specific appointments set with specific ideas. Of course, there's other phone calls that you'd make in that. And that's probably what, since convention, I have had more appointments than ever because people are really excited. And the whole idea, there's something about the appointment, where you actually have an intention. By the setting up the appointment, you're actually creating the intention of something that you're going to accomplish by that. And so I'm always booking appointments. And so what you would be looking at with the coaching is setting up an appointment with somebody for a specific time, for a specific reason, and it might be just whatever's the next step for them. It could be, what I call, just a general question and answer, or it could be about some of the people that you're working with that aren't, it could be for any reason. It doesn't matter what it is, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things it could be. But you're right, though. It does need to be a specific appointment, though. Set the appointment. Hey, this is what we're going to try to accomplish on that appointment, and have some sort of specific plan in mind for it.
Okay, Pat, have you got anything else on the 4 appointments before we get into the Skype magic?
I don't think so. I think that about covers it.
Well, one of the things I appreciate about Pat is he's giving, and he actually did a Skype meeting for one of our team this week. So it is really cool that I'd heard about what he calls a Skype meeting, and I was wondering how they would work, and so let's go through what a Skype meeting is, and then we'll get into some of the logistics of it. So what is a Skype meeting, Pat?
Yeah, well, if for anybody that's not familiar with Skype, it's spelled SKYPE. You can just go to Skype.com, and it's a program that you can download for your computer. The only thing that you really have to have is a camera, a webcam of some sort. Most computers today have one just built right in, or you can buy one that'll plug right into your computer, and there's maybe $10 or $20 to buy one. But Skype allows you to call anybody else that also has Skype on their computer for free. So you can do a voice call to somebody and just talk to them via voice. But the really cool thing is you can do a video call for free, and actually, they can see you, you can see them, and again, it's all free. So what we started doing is we started doing this out of necessity with my Hawaii team, because my Hawaii team has had a lot of momentum. They're the fastest growing area of my group over the last year. And actually, 2 of the girls down here just went full-time a few days ago. So we've got good things going down here. But when I came down here about a year ago, they had a lot of things happening, and we wanted to get some meetings going on down here. But it's challenging to get, there's not a lot of leaders that are flying out here all the time because it's a smaller market. So we started thinking, okay, well, what if we did a Skype meeting? And so our first Skype meeting was just in one of my Hawaii team's living room, and she got the whole team together. We did a training. We had maybe 8 or 10 people in the living room, and what you can do is you can just plug your computer right into your TV, and if you're at all technologically challenged, I would say 2 things. One, either just find somebody that's not that could help you with it, or just use the internet to figure it out. You could just Google, plug your laptop into your TV, and if you Google that, it'll teach you how to do all that. So it's easy to figure out. But
Pat, I don't know if you see the screen here, but I brought up Skype, which is this program here, and I brought up their webcam thing under options, under video settings here, and I took a snapshot of, this is actually of our desktop. This is what's called a screenshot of our desktop with the webcam up here and the Skype program up here, so that, you know, this could be a live video feed that we're doing today.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like right there. And so you can plug your computer right into the TV, and then your TV will just display everything that's on your computer. Or you could even plug it into a projector and put it up on a bigger screen or whatever you wanted to do. But we're just, again, in the living room. We got Tommy Johnson on for our first training down here, and Tommy was just at his home office, and we were all out here, and Tommy could see us, you know, we could see him, and it was great because it was. I mean, I know that my team really loved it because they felt it was very intimate compared to a conference call, you know, and I know that Tommy really loved it because, you know, you can actually interact with people quite a bit better than you can on the conference call. You can see people's faces, and I know that my team really loved it because they really felt like they were getting kind of an inside peek into Tommy's real life. They felt like they were getting like the real Tommy Johnson and not just some presenter. Because, you know, Tommy was at his home office, his little girl came up and sang Twinkle Twinkle for a minute, and, you know, just, it was like, I just think that there's something a little bit more personal about it in some ways. So that's what the Skype meetings are, and, you know, they allow you to bring in any leader from around the country or around the world right into your living room or into your, you know, hotel or wherever you're doing your meeting, and for free. So they're a powerful tool. We're actually going to do what I think will be the first Skype regional we're going to do for our Hawaii team in January. We're going to do it the second week in January, and we're going to just book a whole Saturday and schedule it out just like you would a regional event. We're going to get some of the founders on, you know, and schedule each of them for 20 minutes or a half hour, get some other leaders on. We're just going to have an all-day event for our Hawaii team. And all of it via Skype, people dialing in from all over the country.
So you're going to have a virtual Super Saturday, but, I mean, how many people can you connect with this then?
Well, through Skype, it can only be one-on-one. So what we're going to have is we're going to have all of our Hawaii team will all be together in one spot here on the island, and we'll have a projector up. And, you know, so, and you can only connect with one person at a time. So we'll have to bring on Aaron Garrity first, and then disconnect with him, and then bring on, you know, whoever's next, that sort of thing. Now there are some other programs out there that I haven't really investigated a lot. Somebody's told me about one called Pal Talk and some different things that allow you to connect multiple people at once. But this is primarily what I've used.
Well, you know, I can actually think that maybe a possibility to combine Skype with a webinar system, you know, where and there may be something out there right now, or certainly it of course is not too far away before we're able to have a lot more flexibility with this. But one thing I will say is the technology, I mean, is amazing, and the more the technology advances, the more freedom we have in this business. I was on the beach 2 days ago, and I did the Skype presentation for your group, Art, and then I did another one right immediately following that one. And it's just amazing that we can be doing home parties now from anywhere in the world, anywhere that you happen to be. But I will say that the technology is not always perfect, and internet connections are not always completely reliable. So if you are going to do these, it's always a good idea to have a speakerphone as a backup in case, because sometimes the connection just isn't great. This is the group, actually. This is Tom here. I think I haven't met Tom, but I'm assuming this is Tom. And this is Bruce Silvestri. This is the group that you did a Skype meeting for. This is them with Chris Peterson. They actually drove up after their meeting. This was on Tuesday night. And this is, I asked, he didn't take a picture of the group, but he invited 45 people out, and Tom has got a lot of enthusiasm. He's excited, and so that enthusiasm and excitement will have a big impact on how many people came out. So this was his first meeting, and I was telling Tom and Bruce, because they've worked on this for a month, and you know, you had emails with them, but they had a whole strategy around this, and I told them that as far as I know, in our Zango career, for somebody that had their very first home presentation, as a launch of their business, this is the biggest meeting of anyone that I know. And they invited, I believe, 45 out, and they had 25 show up for this. And this looks like in his basement here. Here's the widescreen TV that they had set up, and Pat called into this just this week. And so this was really powerful. They've signed up a number of people, I think 4 or 5 already from that meeting. A lot of people interested that they're, then walking through the rest of the steps. So this can really work.
Yeah, they did a great job. They had a great room, great crowd. Everybody seemed really engaged. It looked like a very successful meeting.
Well, thanks a lot, Pat. I really don't have any other questions with regard to this. I think you also have a video, and Pat is big on YouTube. People could go to YouTube and they could do a search for Pat Petrini. You have a video on YouTube that talks about how to connect even your computer to your television. I mean, if you had a small group, you don't have to have it in a living room. But I mean, if you get it on a big screen and everybody's sitting around, it's a lot more friendlier. What other resources do people have, Pat, or anything else you wanted to finish before we close out your portion of the call?
No, if anybody's curious about the technicalities of it, the technology, just look it up online. There are YouTube videos that show you how to connect your computer to your TV and show you how to use Skype and all that kind of stuff. Just you can Google practically anything and you'll find a tutorial on how to do it. But no, I think that's about it. I definitely appreciate having me on this call. It's an honor to be on here. Thanks, Art.
Well, thanks a lot, Pat Petrini, and really appreciate you and how you're giving. Zango culture is like that. A lot of these webinars that we're doing, a lot of people from other groups come on. Pat is willing to do some things, and so I really appreciate you, Pat, and really I look forward to seeing you in the next big event.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks everybody for being on the call.
Okay, Pat Petrini, fantastic description of the 4 different kinds of appointments and the Skype thing here. So, if you guys that are wanting to do home meetings, and wanting to take your home presentations up a notch, look for somebody to be the out-of-town expert, somebody in your upline, of course, anybody that can talk. A lot of times I think we sort of live in the illusion that we need to have, somebody that is making tons of money to be the out-of-town expert, and that isn't always the case. Anybody that isn't you is an expert, the way that the mentality goes. So fantastic job on that. I'll give you folks lots of ideas on how to do Skype. Just to wrap up the call, yes, we got a new category-creating product, Junie, that we talked about last week, and I encourage all of you, if you're serious about the business, learn to be a product of the product, to use as many of the products as possible. Also, that Junie makes a great Christmas gift, guys. I mean, I'm telling you, a phenomenal kit, to drop off for somebody you're wondering about a gift for people, or the pericarp oil. Of course, we've got our Zango Goodness Meal Pack. And one of the things we had on a leadership webinar, they had a picture of Glenn Sparks, who went over to Cambodia as part of the Zango Goodness. And Gayla is there, you see. Gayla and Glenn both went over together. And they're actually showing here feeding meal packs to some of the children over there in one of the hospitals. And also here's some pictures of kids eating meal packs. And what Scott Smith had said is that, I know, some of the ones you see on TV are just skin and bones. And these ones don't look like that, but they're still very hungry. They're malnourished. And what he was surprised about is how small some of these children are, that they really just have not grown. So this is where your meal pack money is going here, and this is really a wonderful thing, a part of the Zango DNA. A couple other announcements. Gordon Morton is on the Zango Good News. I encourage you to watch those every week to get some inspiration. There's going to be a convention DVD. In fact, I'm pretty sure this breakout that Pat and Tommy did is going to be on this convention DVD that they're going to be bringing out shortly. Some of the highlights and some of the breakouts at a very affordable price, around $20. Also, Aaron Garrity's CD, his speech was just a knock out of the park. One of the best convention speeches of all time. A lot of us were pushing to get that on a CD, and Exco Pro is going to be coming out with that. And then Doug Weed's Close, which, and I have said this, in 25 years of working from home and of all the conventions that I've ever attended, his close was the best close of an event that I have ever seen, bar none. And so that's coming out on DVD, and you're going to want to get that through Exco Pro and watch that. That'll be a great training DVD. That's great for anybody that is a distributor. This you'll want to circulate. And, of course, the Success from Home magazine, a very powerful piece that when you have a candidate that is worthy of that kind of an investment, and you can lend these out to people. You don't have to give them away. But when you put something of that quality with that much about Zango in it, it adds a tremendous amount of credibility. They've also announced some new bundles, so you don't have to buy as many of them. I think they've got a bundle for as little as 10 of these. And actually, if you have a budget that you're concerned about, how much these things cost, actually it can be a lot more powerful if you're lending these things out, so they don't become fillers on the coffee table. That you lend them out for 3 days, you set up the follow-up to get it back, and you circulate these things around. And the company that puts this publication together, Success from Home magazine, has a lot of statistics. They've been doing this for other companies. I've been aware of this for 2 or 3 years. In fact, I remember talking to one of Zango's marketing guys at least 4 years ago about Zango coming out with one of these magazines and what they thought about it. And they've done a lot of statistics that for every 10 of these that you get out in circulation, the average is to sign up one person out of every 10. So what if you got 10 of these and started circulating these out and using it as a follow-up? Remember what Pat was talking about when he was talking about the next step and always looking for the next step and following up with whatever you could think of? How about this as a next step for anybody that you've got in the pipeline? Listen, I've got this incredible magazine. I've only got a few of them. I can lend it to you for a few days. And so this can be another one of your next steps. Very, very powerful. So also Vegas, they're calling it 2010, and that's about a third sold out. And one thing that they have made an absolute declaration on, they just felt like maybe they made a mistake around convention, is that tickets are not going to get ever any cheaper than they are now, and there's not going to be any free Vegas tickets out there. So if you want to go to Vegas, get your tickets now. It's already a third sold out, and lots of people. $75. You know how big convention is. You should have a goal of having some people out to. How about having a goal of having 3 brand new people to Las Vegas, and then building from those 3 to 10 brand new people to convention. The featured speaker is Dick Hoyt. I'm pretty sure you've probably seen him. I've seen him actually on pictures at the mall. DickHoyt.com. I believe there's a YouTube. It's a pretty amazing story about him and his son and taking him on marathon. So he's going to be the keynote at Las Vegas. This is April 22nd, 23rd, something like that. You can look it up on Zango.com. So I'd like to thank everybody and for coming on the webinar today. Thanks a lot for Pat. I've said often in the past that everything in life starts with a decision, and that once you make up your mind to do something and you make a firm decision, that everything starts to happen from that decision. But I've also said that decision has to be made every day. You can't sit here and say, okay, I'd like to become a premier, but then Monday rolls around and you haven't decided to do anything. And so write down your 4 things that you're going to do each night and have your little connection calls. There's not going to be any call next Saturday for the Thanksgiving weekend, and we'll be announcing what's going to happen in December after that. So I'd like to thank you all. Let's open up the lines so we can give Pat Petrini a real round of applause for giving to us today and for his heart and for sharing with us. And so let's open up the lines here and thank him before we close out the call. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Pat.
Everybody. Thank you, Pat.